Hello, everyone. Welcome to the General Assembly Preparation Workshop, or GA. We wanted to hold this workshop since IFSS is right around the corner, and we wanted to make sure that all of you are prepared for the upcoming General Assembly sessions. So let's start a bit of an overview of our presentation first. Next slide, please. So today's presentation is consisting two parts. The first part is how the General Assembly works, where we will give you information about the format, the documents, agenda, and elections. And the second part is the proposals that we are going to vote during the General Assembly, which are the changes in rules of procedure and about the new IFSA strategy for the upcoming 4 years. IFSA budget, and lastly, the Commission's proposals. So let's start our workshop with the how the GA works part. But also first, let me introduce myself. My name is Elif. I am the current Vice President of IFSA, and Simone will introduce himself as well.
Yes, thanks, Elif. And yes, I'm Simone. I'm currently the Executive Secretary of IFSA, and I would try to get you through on how the GA works. So get ready, and please stop me at any moment if something is not clear or you want to ask any question, because it's going to be some stuff to talk about. So if you're ready, we'll start with the first slide being like, so how the General Assembly work. So let's start from the basic. So what's the General Assembly? So the General Assembly, or the GA, because we are going to use the word a bit too many times, is like the most important place in IFSA where all the big decisions are made. And the GA happens once a year, and those decisions, for example, are like the annual report, the elections of the new boards for next year, or the IFSS, and yeah, and also to assess the which the work overall. So, and I think who is in the GA? I think that's the other important question. So all IFSA members are welcome to attend the GA, and then every LC has one vote. So it's basically the assembly of every LCs, which are the members of IFSA, technically, the one that have power to take decisions, that meet together and decide what to do at IFSA for the next year. So it's like a crucial moment for IFSA to have everything working properly. So now we can start talking a bit more the technical part. So what's the format? How is it going to look like the GA this year? And the GA is going to be hybrid. This is the first ever time the GA was hybrid. The GA always used to be in person, but then due to obvious reasons, we had to move it online. And now we don't want to move it back fully in person, but we want to keep this hybrid format. So everyone can participate, doesn't matter where you are. So yeah, there's going to be an in-person part, which are the participants of IFSS in Chile, and then the other online participant. And if you are online or in person, you can participate in the same way as the GA. So you have opportunity to ask questions, to comment, those changes is the same. And also all the voting apps online. So there is going to be no voting in person. Sadly, no more voting cards and seconding motions, because all the voting has to happen remotely to give everyone the possibility to vote. Also, something we said, is the first year ever we're making this, so we also, no one knows how we go, but hopefully it's going to work. We managed to have two quite successful online GAs in the past 2 years. But okay, already the GA is complex, but now with the hybrid stuff, there's a few more stuff to figure out. First thing to start is GA documents. So we're going to have a web page for the GA, which is going to contain all the information that you need to know. For example, all the proposals that are made, if there is a presentation, then the GA is going to be uploaded there. If all the sessions are going to be recorded and then uploaded on the website. And same thing for the candidates. So all the candidates are going to be on one page, so you can see the candidates. So this is the list of all the links. Warning, this is work in progress, so it's not done yet. So if you go to this link now, you won't find anything. But it's going to be ready by 2 days before the GA. So yeah, so then you have all the info there. Then GA agenda. The GA is done of 4 sessions. All of them are different times, so the way was Tracy. No, the different times are because the in-person GA need to fit in the schedule at having set. So we're shifting a bit earlier or later, depending on the schedule of the day. But it's always around this time, so everyone can participate. So you see the time UTC plus 0, that's from 12:30 to 14 UTC plus 0, which is the time where like everyone can have a semi-decent time, which I mean early in the morning or late in the evening, but not 3 a.m. Because again, we like to have everyone joining, but time zones are something we can't really do anything. The first session. So the first session is going to actually, no, we're going to discuss now in detail. And this is the first session on the 28th of August. And the first session is about summarizing the previous year. So like, okay, formally opening the GA and explaining how the GA works, how many people are entitled to vote, and all these stuff to set up the GA. Then we're going to present the annual report and the membership report from the previous year. We're going to present the financial report, and we are going to announce the official of the year and the IPS award for this year. So this is to open the GA and to summarize the year. Then there is going to be a voting session, because the voting session happened between GA sessions. So you have a GA session, which is going to be 1 to 2 hours when you discuss stuff, when you propose stuff, where you can ask questions, when you can discuss the proposal. Then all the proposal will be condensed in one ballot. And then all the LTs are going to have at least 48 hours, but basically until like the next session to vote on the proposals. And the proposal of the after session 1 is going to be just technical to run the GA. So it's going to be the election of the Board of Assembly, of the election committee, and deciding on the detailed agenda. So the Board of Assembly are the people that are going to moderate the GA and take minutes. And the election committee are the group of people that are taking care of the voting, that the voting works properly and so on. And the agenda is the agenda of the GA, because it needs to be approved, because you might want to propose points and so on, the GA agenda. Then we are session 2, where we start the real GA. This is a couple of days after, on the 30th of August. And besides announcing the result of the first voting, we are going to talk about static changes and RP changes. We have no static changes at the moment, but we have quite some RP changes. RPs are the rules of procedure, which is basically this big document that have like how all the stuff working, except for example, how you do elections, what's the task of the board, what's the original meeting, and so on. All this stuff on how Formalista works in the RPs. We have some updates from this year, mainly concerning the APGA. So we want to update them. Then the second part is going to be the budget for the new term, because we need to approve the budget for the next IFSA term, and also to establish a subcommission, because technically subcommission need to be established every year. And finally, the consulting and honorary members are going to be nominated. And all the stuff that we discussed, of course, are going to go on the ballot. So the voting to ballot is going to include static changes, which hopefully not going to be anything then ROP changes, the budget, and honorary consulting member. And also, like, to make it clear, like when you do the voting after all the tier voted, then it is like a decision of the GA. So then it's like binding for its decision. And after this, we move to session 3, which is probably the most exciting part of the GA, because it's the election of the new officials, or technically of the board, head of commission, and IPSSC. Just to like make clear, like the head of subcommissions. So the bulk of officials are going to be selected by the new board after the IPSS, because we won't be able to, due to time constraints, to make it work in a GA session and to give everyone the proper chance to present themselves. So we are focusing only on the board, which is probably the most important part. So yeah, we are going to have the badging, which is this very, I would say, IPSA word that describes when you where the candidates, each candidate is going to go to give to present themselves, and then there is going to be a question and answer part where you can ask any question to the candidates, and this for all the candidates for each position, and also for the FSLC. In this case, it's going to be 2024. And then all this stuff is going to go to ballot. And then the last session, we're going to discover who was elected as the new board, where is going to be elected in 2024, and look at for the new IPSA term, which is going to be, we're going to have a presentation from the FSLC from 2023. So in next year, because IPSS are selected 2 years in advance. And we have this kind of little wide session of plans for the next IPSA term, where we can discuss all together where IPSA is heading, what we want to do at IPSA, which we think are priorities, and yeah, at the GA for IPSA. And then finally, we are closing the GA. And that's the agenda. Any question, comments? You managed to follow the part? Also, like, I understand that like the GA, there is a lot, it's complex, there's a lot of stuff. And sometimes I don't realize that I'm giving stuff for granted. So again, if you have any thing else unclear, please ask. There is no stupid question. Okay, but then seems that everything is super clear. So we can move to the next part, which are the elections at the GA. And so what's the election process? So I say again, like direction and country, which together make the board, like head of commissions and FSSC are going to be elected at FSS. We're going to have this secret ballot that is happening between GA sessions. Yeah, and every LC has one right to vote and one vote, and they have this e-ballot to the email address. How the application works. So the open call for the application is out. If I get this date may be wrong, I guess it's the 28th, or I'm not sure what's the deadline, but it's either the 27th or the 28th of August. Remember the time, that is so important. And yeah, I'll share in the chat the link to the open call. And you can apply for this, like, so when you apply, you need to send a motivation letter, an application video, and a work plan. You will find all the details in the applications, also with some suggestions on what to put in this your new video motivation letter. The work plan is something that we are kind of asking for the first time this year, because, and this includes like, yes, the plans that you want to do for next year, as which in your position, which are the tasks you want to do. But there is also a work plan template. And something crucial, which I think is very important, is that you can apply for 2 positions at the same time. So I know this sounds weird, but let me explain. So since we may have like more people for running for the same position, and then if you have more than 2 people running for the same position, of course, only one is going to be elected. And then if you don't, for example, if you decide to run for vice president and then you don't get elected for vice president, you can run for another position. And when we added GA in person, we used to have these, we used to elect position one after the other. So if you didn't get elected for vice president, for example, you could run for internal councilor. But now you can do this because we are doing the elections all at once. Otherwise, because since the voting takes place remotely, then it would take 2 months to do the election in this way. So what we want to do now is to have all the election at once. So you can run for 2 positions at the same time. And when you apply for 2 positions, you say which is your favorite one. And so that, but then if you don't, then if you get elected in your favorite one, then you get your favorite one. If you don't elect it there, you are still running for the other position, and then you can get elected in the other position. So yeah, it's a bit weird, but it's very nice way. So if you're interested in running for a position, I would really suggest you to think about running for 2 positions, unless there's anything else you want to do, or you're super confident that you will get the position. Because then there is no more time to apply. And one additional thing about the applications is that there is also something maybe a bit confusing. We have actually 2 deadlines for the application. So the main deadline is on the 27th of August, and we are suggesting everyone to apply by then, so we can upload your application to the website, and we know in advance who is applying. We can start planning the actual GA agenda, like the timing to know, because then we know how many candidates are for any position. But then we also have a emergency deadline up to 1 day before the actual election. So if during FSS someone gets super motivated, wants to run for something, they still have time. But if possible, just try to apply for the first one. And now we get to the hard part, which is voting. So be ready, because voting is getting complex. So the easy part is the vetting process. So every candidate application, which means motivation letter, video, and work plan, is going. Yes, thanks, Alice. Yes, if you apply the exercise, you still need to apply in the same process. It's not like in the past, there were nominations at the GA, and you just have to be nominated and that was it. No, you still need to submit the full application in the same way of everyone else. So all the applications are going to be uploaded on the website, so available to all the members to see, so they can see the application, what your ideas, and so on. And then there is going to be this batching session on the third planner session, which whether it's going to be you have again a place to present yourself and your application, and then there is going to be a Q&A session. So this is the batching. And I think the only important thing to remember here is that you are going to have your application uploaded on the website, and also that you don't have to be, you of course don't have to be in person at FSS, because the vetting process in PDJ is fully hybrid. The vetting process is happening online, so if you can join online, then you are in the same position to just join online. And the voting happens online between GA sessions again, so not during the GA, but after. And it would last at least 48 hours, so everyone in every time zone has plenty of time to vote. And every LC has 1 vote. So in the past, we used to have proxy votes, so you could delegate votes for another LC that wasn't FSS. This is not needed anymore because everyone can vote. You don't have to be at FSS to vote. So yeah. And also the quorum is calculated every voting session, because in the past, the number of voting LC depended on how many people were at FSS, but the number of LC voting changes because it's online now. So every time online, we need to have valid decision. We need to have, depends on what you're voting on, but usually you need to have at least a quarter of LC voting. Otherwise, it's not valid the voting. So the voting happens online during this platform called Election Buddy, which we really used in the past years and is working pretty well, which is this online platform done specifically for voting, so it can guarantee the integrity and anonymity of the vote, and it also make it everything simple. And this is another crucial step. The only way to vote is to check your official LC email address, where you will get an email with your link to the ballot. The ballot is only for you, for your LC, and it's only going to be through the email. No other exception, no other way. If you don't have access to your LC email address, please get in touch with the web submission, and they will be happy to give you a password in 5 minutes. So, but remember that to vote, you need to have access to your official email address. Also remember that after you submitted your vote, you cannot change the ballot. So think about before voting. And you can find in this link this step-by-step guide on how to vote, which has a few screenshots will showing you how the voting works. It should be intuitive enough. Yes, and also remember that like it's one vote per LC. So when you before voting, usually discuss with your LC usually what you want to vote for. It can be depends on how you want. You can be this. You can say, okay, we select and set aside. You can have like a board meeting for the LC, but in general, remember that it's an LC decision, and then there are these 40 hours that there should be plenty of time to figure this out. Then voting system. There is the easy and the complex part. The easy one is when you need to approve stuff. For example, the new budget. Then it's a simple majority vote. We count how many votes are in favor and how many are against, and if the one in favor are more than against, the motion is passed, is approved. And in your ballot, you're going to see 3 options: approve, reject, or abstain. And this is the default voting system, and it should be simple enough. But for election is a tiny bit more complex. And that's it. So we planning to use star voting, which is this voting system that now we're going to explain you how it works, and then why we're using this, which is made of 2 steps. So in the ballot, you're going to give from 0 to 5 stars to each candidate. And then those scores are going to be average, and you're going to have 2 best candidates. And for the 2 best candidates, you're going to have these automatically run off. So that means for every ballot, you're going to see who you preferred. But I think this can be hard with words. So we have a video here, which should show you how it works. Wait, I need to share the sound.
How does star voting work?
Can you confirm me that you hear the sound? Perfect. Then enjoy these 3 minutes because it's much better than me.
How does star voting work? STAR stands for score, then automatic runoff. And that's exactly how it works. Just give your favorite 5 stars, give your least favorite 0, and score the others as you like. With STAR, it's easy to show your preference order and also your level of support for each candidate. It's safe to vote your conscience, and you don't have to worry about voting for the lesser of 2 evils or wasting your vote. Now let's see how the ballots are counted. Here's the first ballot. This voter gave 3 stars to Abby, 4 stars to Ben, 0 stars to Carmen, and 5 stars to DeAndre. Here's the second ballot. Note that this voter gave Abby and DeAndre the same score, which is permitted in star voting. We'll add these stars to the total. And we'll continue adding up the scores until all the ballots are counted. The 2 highest scoring candidates are finalists. The remaining candidates are out of the running. Now it's time for the second round of tabulation, the automatic runoff. Each ballot counts as one vote for the finalist each voter preferred. Let's see how many people preferred Carmen over DeAndre and vice versa. This voter preferred DeAndre to Carmen, so this vote goes to DeAndre. This voter also preferred DeAndre to Carmen. Note that their favorite candidate was Abby, but she didn't make it to the runoff round. Even though this voter's favorite couldn't win, their vote still makes a difference and goes to the finalist they preferred, DeAndre. This voter gave both DeAndre and Carmen 5 stars, indicating that they like both equally. Since this voter would be equally happy with either, this ballot is counted as a vote of no preference. This voter preferred Carmen to DeAndre, so this vote goes to Carmen. And the last voter preferred DeAndre to Carmen, so this vote goes to DeAndre. Regardless of the scores given, each ballot ultimately counts as one vote. DeAndre wins. DeAndre was in the top 2 highest scoring candidates, and he had the greatest number of voters prefer him over Carmen. Star voting measured how strongly voters liked DeAndre and also how many voters supported him. So to recap, STAR stands for score, then automatic runoff. And that's exactly how it works. Voters fill out the ballot on a 0 to 5 star scale. The 2 candidates with the most stars advance to the automatic runoff. The candidate preferred by the most voters wins. Now that you know how it works, want to try out star voting for yourself? Create your own star voting.
So I hope this video was a good explanation. I am now trying to explain it again without animations. And let's start from what you see on the ballot. So this is a sample ballot where you have one position and you indicate you have 3 candidates with their creative names. And you have 7 options actually for each candidate. So if you see this like line, if you put nothing, it's abstain. So you abstain for only that candidate. Then you can give 0, which is the lowest score, 2, which is the minimum score to be elected, because if a candidate's average score is less than 2, then they are excluded for they are excluded from the voting. They are not going to get a position if the position is going to open call. So yeah, if you think a candidate's score is low, then remember 2 is the minimum to pass to be elected. And then we have 3, 4, and 5 the highest. And then you can also abstain for the opposition. So if you don't know a candidate, you can just abstain, and then your vote is not going to count for that candidate, and you can give the preference. Remember, you can give the same amount of stars for each candidate if you want. Then the steps are the votes are counted in 2 steps. There's step 1, we get the 2 finalists, which are the one with the highest average score. And then this is the fancy part, which is that each finalist gets a preference from each ballot if it has an higher score from the other finalists. You saw this in the video. So if I voted for candidate 1 as my favorite, but then I have candidate 2 and 3, and candidate 2 has 3 stars and candidate 2 has 2. In this case, my ballot is going to go for candidate 3 because it's the one that I prefer between the 2. And then the candidate with the highest number of preferences wins. Sounds complex, it is, but this voting system is not too complex and still somehow understand how it works, and there's a lot of advantages. So that's why we are doing starboarding. First reason is that we want to have a system that supports one election, multiple elections. So in one election, we want to have multiple candidates running for the same position. So you need to have you can have one candidate running for the same position. So you need to have a way that, like, if the top candidate gets excluded because I've got another position, you need to have a clear system to have a fallback. And it doesn't really work with like normal voting. The second thing is regional constraints. So according to the XRP, we cannot, the board has to come for at least two big regions, so I mean different regions, because we want to make sure that there is regional diversity in the board. And in the past, this was like very complex because like you basically add a pre-selection from each region, but this doesn't really work because then the pre-selection system is not very balanced. While with this system, with the score watching, if you end up in a situation where all the board is from region, there's a clear system to get the second best candidate. And also it's a better voting system because you can give a score to each candidate. You don't have only choose the best one, which then because you don't really know how this works. And then also like there is no incentive for strategic votes. So currently in our piece we have this score voting system, which removes this side, which does include the second step of discussing the, which does include the second step of the runoff, which in a way is simpler, but the problem that like that voting system is a problem with like strategic voting, which basically means that if you give 5 to your best favorite candidate and 0 to the others, you are not really expressing how much you like the candidates. You're just saying, I want my candidate wins. If you use this strategy in star voting, you are failing because then there is no point in doing that. So this is why we use star voting. If you're more interested more about star voting, here there is a couple of links. One of this organization that is promoting this system, another one of the explaining the election science behind this. The voting system are pretty complex, but if this voting system is going to work and be the best for IPSA, to really have everyone, to give everyone the possibility to vote properly, and then have an online GA that works. This is also the end of how the GA works. And again, are there any questions about the voting system? Or comments? Because I understand that it's a bit complex, maybe even too bit complex, and it's pretty different from the normal what's your favorite candidate voting system that you are used to. So hope this gives you an idea of what and why. Yeah. If there are no comments, I guess then I will give the word to Elif, which is going to talk to you about the proposal that we're going to do at the GA here. Elif, are you going to share your own screen?
Yes, I can do that.
Right.
Do you see the presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So if there are no questions, we are now moving the second part of the presentation, which is the General Assembly proposals. And let's begin with the changes in rules of procedure. As Simone previously mentioned, the rules of procedure is the document basically shows how IPSA works. The document itself is not part of the IPSA statutes, but they are read together as a subject. And the General Assembly decides the changes for the rules of procedure according to the relevant changes that are needed. And the rules of procedures comes into the force through the publication on the IPSA website once it's approved by the General Assembly. So let's begin. What are the changes that are proposed for this year? So we have sectioned the changes rather than showing the whole document to you, which will be too long. There are several categories for the changes. The first one is about the hybrid General Assembly, which also Simone talked about previously, of how the format works And we believe that it's really a good format for the regional diversity and inclusivity for the General Assembly. And the second one is about the new voting system, which also you have heard previously very thorough. And the second one is about the Regional Assembly, which showcases more power to adds more power to regional meetings in order to have the regional elections for the RRs and organizing committees for the regional meetings. And in these new changes, we are explaining them in the rules of procedure. And the second one is about, and the other one is about membership fee reduction for associate members, as now currently we don't have as much associate members. We are encouraging them to create LCs with their respective universities, but with the reduction, we are aiming to improve the quality of the associate members and hopefully have more. And another proposed change is about the development fund structure. As most of you would be already familiar with, we are having monthly applications this year, which also rolls over the next months. And this way we can have continuous support on local projects or delegations for our members. And the last two proposed changes are the removal of the old sections and grammatical changes and general update of the structure. Along with the all proposed documents, all these drafts or changes are has sent to official IFSA LC email addresses, which you can review or suggest changes yourselves until 16th of August. Another proposal for the GA is very important as well, which is the new IFSA strategy. IFSA strategy takes place every 4 years, it renews every 4 years. And this year we have also reformed with the task force, which I will tell you more in the next slides. So let's begin again. What is the IFSA strategy? The IFSA strategy is a document that describes the association's goals and actions on how to achieve them. And as we get through the annual reports, the first strategy was launched in 2008. And along with the emails with the proposals, you also have received the new draft of the IFSA strategy for 2022 and 26. And this strategy was compiled with a task force from 17 IFSA officials and commissioners after the interim that took place in Prague, Czech Republic. And the strategy goals were divided into working groups. There are 3 main goals in the IFSA strategy, and the progress was made in the working groups separately, and we had regular meetings with the working groups and give us updates and work together as well. So the most important changes that are made are about indicators, which was in the previous strategy. They were very general, and there weren't any guide to track the indicators. Therefore, the strategy wasn't being followed as much. And another change in comparison was also the action points, which gives a more clear view on how to achieve the goals that are described. And some sub-goals and action points were removed in the case if they weren't relevant anymore, or they were replaced or replaced. And due to new realities, especially after pandemic, new changes, sub-goals and action points have emerged based on the needs of the association. So in the current structure, we have the goals, sub-goals, action points, and indicators. And the goals are the general strategic areas where IFSA is investing in, and sub-goals are the specific aims that IFSA plans to achieve. And each sub-goal also includes a description. And also every sub-goal has action points, which are concrete activities that IFSA could plan in a year or achieve. And indicators are following these action points and collecting data in the end for measuring the impact or how the successful was the goal, or yeah, basically anything can be made after the collection. So that's about the strategy. Are there any questions so far? If not, we can move on to the budget proposal. So during the General Assembly, there will be the approval of the previous budget as well as the upcoming budget for the new IFSA year. And during the board meeting in Munich, we have formed the new budget proposal for the upcoming IFSA term, which you can have an overview of here in this table. And these expenses cover as the main categories as general administrations, meetings, funds, projects, and for partnered events. This document, the budget proposal, was sent out as well as along with the other documents. So you can have more detailed overview, and if you haven't had the chance to review them, you still have chance to propose changes in any of these documents until 16th of August. And on the expenses, there are the income categories, which are from the membership fees, from partners, from IFSA auction that will also take place in Chile, which is voluntarily how we collect money for the development fund, where people bring objects to the auction, and the money that has gathered from there goes to IFSA development fund. And also there are other incomes such as the donations, which are not categorized. It can be from any person or organization. And lastly, for our proposals, we have the Commission's proposals. As previous sections, let's start with what are the IFSA commissions. The IFSA commissions are established by the General Assembly as well as the other decisions, and they can be established by any purpose or activity that is IFSA related. And the commissions are consisting of the heads of commissions, sub-commissions, and commissioners, which are responsible in the coordination of the commission. And currently there are 4 main commissions in IFSA, which I will talk about in the next slides about the proposed changes for these commissions. So let's start with first for the Capacity Development Commission, which is in the internal department. And with these proposals, we are planning to merge 2 commissions, since the workload for this commission is quite high for the head of commission. And we wanted to merge the forestry education and mentorship commissions together as one subcommission. And we are aiming to add the 3E learning subcommission in order to focus more on the platform and create more quality content for the next years. And lastly, we are planning to add the fundraising subcommission, since the Erasmus funding that IFSA is benefiting now is coming to an end. And it's really important to search for new funding resources. So we hope that this subcommission will be working hard on that and have different funding resources that can help IFSA in creating more projects and activities for every region. Secondly, we are moving to Communication Commission. For the Communication Commission, previously there were podcast and treehouse subcommissions, and they did discontinue this year. And for the upcoming year, we are proposing to establish those subcommissions as well. in order to improve the podcast episodes and Treehouse platform better. And we are moving on to the external department. In the external department for the Partners Commission, since we are signing the MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding with ProSilva, we are also aiming to create a new subcommission, which will act as a focal point to contact with ProSilva and as all other subcommission in Partners Commission, make sure that partnership works well and suggest new activities together if possible. And our last commission is the International Processes Commission. And for this commission, we have only one suggestion as well, which is dividing UNFCCC and UNCCD commissions, subcommissions, since the workload for them is getting higher. And we thought with the head of commission that it's better to separate the subcommissions to make sure that there isn't much workload for one person. So that's all from the proposal sections, and now we are in the end of the presentation and moving on to Q&A part. You can either ask from the chat or raise hand for your questions.
I think everyone is already a J expert.
Yeah, everyone seems super ready now.
So we can just have someone else running the GA.
Yeah.
Joke aside, I think it's very important that like this stuff are clear for everyone, because I see the J is not super straightforward. It's not super simple. There are good reasons why it's in this way, but still this doesn't make it easier. So if you are really that prepared and understand what's going on, then it can be pretty interesting. But if you don't understand what's going on, then it's a mess. But
Okay.
if there is anything that is unclear, just ask questions.
Yes, you can ask basically anything. Okay. I guess if not, thank you for your attention. And if you remember something to ask later on, you can always write us at from board@ipsa.net. And yeah, the board is also in the IFSS chat. But yeah, just please contact us from anywhere and we will try to help you for your questions. So I guess if that's all, we can conclude our meeting. We'll stop the recording.